Britney Spears alleges that Britney's dad monitored her every move. According to a former staff member of Britney's security team, which was hired by her dad, Britney was under intense surveillance. He said all her conversations were secretly recorded, even in her bedroom. This included conversations with her kids and boyfriend. Watch.
Every single request was monitored and recorded. It really reminded me of somebody that was in prison. And security was put in a position to be the prison guards, essentially.
In a statement, Jamie Spears' lawyer said Britney was aware of the surveillance and all of his actions were within the parameters of Britney's conservatorship. Erica, what do you make of this?
I don't know what to make of it. It seems like a lot of people knew a lot of things and chose now as the appropriate time to say something about it. It just, I question why people didn't come forward with this information earlier.
And is it, I'm a little confused, did the court order that? Because she's got a court-ordered IUD in, which I say all the time, which seems crazy to me already. So did the court in some way have control to monitor her phones? I'm a little confused.
I think it boils down really quickly to conservatorship laws, right? So it may fall under conservatorship laws. What I think Britney and many people are attesting to is how severely mentally unstable do you have to be to warrant all of this conservatorship parameters. So if it is somebody who is a danger to themselves, a danger to their children, who can't think for themselves, have Alzheimer's, perhaps surveillance and everything under the sun is appropriate. Is Britney, we had Mark Eiglarsh on the show, attorney. You remember Mark Eiglarsh said in his own words that he didn't feel that Britney fell under conservatorship because it's for the most, like, people that need the most help.
People that are in comas.
Yeah, and if you have a severe mental illness, even that most of the time doesn't fall under conservatorship. So they might be within the realm of it, but perhaps Britney should never have been under a conservatorship.
Sam, I agree with you, and I think a lot of times you're asking questions, Jeff and Sam, you're asking questions, and I think a lot of times these things are opaque. I think when we start talking about mental health, it's not like Erica on the 19th, I'm going to relapse. It's like sometimes when you realize that somebody that you love is kind of losing the thread a little bit, it's too late, or they're gone, or, you know, they were kind of falling off, but then they started back on their meds and they got back on it. So it's a very hard thing to call. So, like, when do you call the conservatorship? When do you call it off? Who can call it off if you no longer can? I
agree with you, Al. I mean, in a normal situation, but I've always said, we've always come to the same sentiment. Britney Spears has never been treated like a human since we first were introduced to her. She's always been treated like a machine. And at the end of the day, I don't feel like anyone was really looking out for her well-being in this conservatorship. It was about protecting that machine and protecting that cash cow. So when I ask why are people coming forward now, the far more noble and braver thing to do would have been to make these allegations at this point transparent when Britney was being spied on when she was trying to get a new attorney, which apparently was something she was trying to do, and she was blocked from doing so because they had all of this documentation of her interactions and her records. So anyone who's coming forward and trying to look at be a hero in this moment and had all this information for years when they knew that this woman was being imprisoned, as this man just said, I'm giving them a side eye. Like, why now?
I think here's the biggest part about this case is, are your intentions nefarious or not? If this was somebody that had good intentions to make sure that they're not going to harm themselves or their children, perhaps under conservatorship protocols, they can listen in on certain things. But to listen in, to have your thumb over them, to make sure that they don't find a new attorney, to make sure that they don't do things to remove you from conservatorship, that points in the direction of nefarious purposes. And I also think the biggest red flag here, if you are, according to Jamie Spears, well enough mentally to go tour and make money, then how are you well enough to not well enough to go and tend to your own personal orders? That's where another red flag came up for me. So I'm glad that she has her own attorney now. I'm glad that he's been removed from conservatorship. To me, there's just way too much smoke.